Welcome, everybody, to the preview edition of the DRS Wildcast, a brand new podcast here in DRS.
Genius.
My name is Rabbi Natan Farber,
And I'm Rabbi Kivi Nyman.
and every week, Rabbi Nyman and I will speak to a different faculty member, some students here in DRS, about a range of different topics. And today, we are honored to be graced with who better to have as your first guest on the DRS Wildcast than probably the best guest you can have here in the DRS building, Rabbi Eli Storch. Rabbi, welcome to the DRS Wildcast.
Welcome, Rabbi.
Thank you. It's Malin B'Kodesh, so you're supposed to start from the bottom, but hey.
Well, we are also, just for those who are only listening, we're actually inaugurating the DRS boardroom in the new building, the new wing of the building that opened up recently. Very excitingly, we're actually sitting here together recording this podcast, and Tis Chadesh, it should be a lot of good things that come out of this boardroom.
Amen.
So, Rabbi Storch, today's topic, which is most appropriate for you as our guest, is to talk a little bit about sports and Judaism, sports and Torah, in light of the fact that this Sunday, Super Bowl LV.
There's a game this Sunday?
Oh,
It's a sports game.
what is LV?
LV. Roman numerals.
What is
Would
that,
anybody know Roman numerals if it wasn't for the Super Bowl?
Is that 55? Why do they keep doing that?
Double nickel.
Super Bowl LV, the Chiefs versus the Broncos on one side of the field. You have 20.
Chiefs versus who?
The Buccaneers. I'm sorry. We gotta. Should we do that again?
No,
No, this is what it is.
It's the Chiefs versus the Buccaneers. Of course it is. And on one side of the field, you have 25-year-old Patrick Mahomes, who is arguably the future of the NFL, maybe even the present
We'll find out on Sunday.
of the NFL, competing to clinch. Is that the right word?
Clinch.
You could use it.
Clench?
No,
Clinch.
Clinch is
not
when
clench.
you don't have to play anymore.
Right,
So,
clenching is grabbing something tightly.
He's trying to win the game.
Okay, so he's trying to win his second consecutive Super Bowl. And his opponent, the last time someone played in consecutive Super Bowls, Tom Brady, in 16 through 18. Tom Brady playing in his, I think it's the 11th
I believe it's 10th.
or the 10th Super Bowl. 6 rings
You
already.
clearly did homework, and you're still not doing this right, Rabbi.
Well,
Farber.
I'm. You know what? I want to. I don't want to sound like I did too much research, but he's playing in his 10th Super Bowl. For 20 seasons, he was the cornerstone of the New England Patriot franchise. Now in his first year, wearing red and white as a Buccaneer,
This is
Made it
impressive
to
stuff
the-
you've done.
made it to
Yeah.
the Super Bowl. Led his team to the Super Bowl. Unbelievable. What a matchup. Rabbi Storch, tell us really about sports in this COVID era. As a sports fan, you're a big sports fan. In this new era, no fans, shortened seasons. What is it like to be a fan of sports? In this
That's a great question
strange
because
time?
part of the thrill of being a fan is the energy. And you walk into a building and, the greatness, I should say, of sports, one of the great facets is the collegiality, the camaraderie. You have a DRS greenhouse. It's not just about the team winning, but it's about jumping on your friend when you score a goal. And all of a sudden here, when you're watching a game and your team scores a touchdown, and then it's like, nope, you can't high five the person next to you. There's an awkwardness that instills. And I think that the energy, the players have complained with the lack of energy in the room, in the building, because fans aren't there. Because the achdus that labels people to achieve greatness, part of it is just not there. The energy is sapped. They did a nice gesture for the Super Bowl. They gave out 8,000 free tickets to medical workers and medical personnel as a gesture of Hakar Satov, which is beautiful, but it doesn't compare with your own team and 80,000 people yelling and screaming your name and the energy that gives you. I don't think it's the same.
Are there any elements of the game that maybe are enhanced by this reality? Maybe players getting time that would have never made it onto the field. Meaning, is there any way that we could look at this experience,
Yeah,
this collective
I
experience?
think
and
so.
say,
I think it's true of the entire pandemic, and it's not. And sports is a larger indicator of this, and that is, why do you play the game? Do you play the game for Yenim or do you play the game for you? There was, for the love of the game. There was I'll never forget. It was nice. I heard this from Alan Krasna. I don't know where he is now, but he was in Griskola when I was in BMT, and he gave the following mushal of for to know if you really loved learning, and it was called "Dancing in the Dark." He said Bruce Springsteen has a song "Dancing in the Dark," and he goes, when you really love to dance, you're not just going to dance when the lights are on, but you're going to dance when the lights are off. That's how you know you really love dancing. So, do you really love the game? So, yeah, everybody loves having their. I don't know about everybody, but most people, you throw a touchdown pass and you have everybody yelling your name. That's wonderful. But if you really love the game, you're doing that in your own backyard where nobody's watching. That's how you really get to be true to yourself when you see that there are no fans and you're just doing it for yourself. That separates those people who really love it versus the people who are like, I get the residual benefits, so to speak.
And lahavdil al alfi avdalos, I think that when it comes to learning Torah, the camaraderie or the energy in the base medrash, but at the same time,
the Kol Torah, yeah, for sure.
do you continue to learn on your own time, privacy of your own home, dancing in the dark?
That was what he was referencing back in the day, which was if you really love it, you're going to be doing it when nobody's watching you, right? And that's really true. But as we spoke about earlier, the idea of having fans in the stands is the Kol Torah of the Beis Medrash is such a powerful experience. As a motivator, it's wonderful, and knowing that everybody is on the same page as you, and there's nothing greater in the DRS Beis Medrash when you walk in like on the day of a Gemara final and everybody's pumping, and you feel the Kol Torah, and there's a movement, so that's great, and that the people feed off that.
Now, in Judaism, we are taught to look up to people, learn lessons from talented, successful people. Let's talk a little bit about Tom Brady. Tom Brady, how does a guy who goes from the 199th pick of the 2000 NFL draft, earning him the reputation
Who was the 198th
perhaps
pick?
The biggest.
You
What?
left.
I didn't have a chance to look that up. But how does a guy like that, earning the reputation of being perhaps the biggest steal in NFL history, if not sports history, go on to be the, would you say, greatest quarterback of all time?
I think I think you could say Tom Brady's the GOAT, but you could nitpick here and there and say, he's been a product of great teams and great coaching. But either he's not going to be less than the third or second best quarterback of all time. But
what can we learn from a guy like Tom Brady?
being the 199th pick, I think that the key to Brady, and you still see it today, because this is what he talks about all the time, is the preparation and hard work he puts in to each and every game. I mean, he has a company, TB12. He's a creature of habit. He works so hard. He studies the game. You're not going to surprise him during the game with a blitz or with a new wrinkle. He's thought about everything before. He's prepared. He's like you on the podcast. He studied every single element of the career beforehand. He's not messing around. So what you can learn from Tom Brady is you don't leave a situation willy-nilly and just show up, because there's some expression that somebody once said that luck is always a product of hard work. The amount of hard work that he's put in to his career, both in the physical element and on the mental aspect, is off the charts. And when you see a guy like that and still be successful at the age of 43, people are making him out to be an old man, like he's 5 years younger than I am. But when you see somebody really putting in that effort and still producing, that's like, there's no substitute in this world for hard work. And you could take that, what Tom Brady has done with his hard work in the mental preparation, in the physical preparation, and you could say, I'm going to work hard and I'm going to accomplish in my area of expertise.
So, seasoned mechanech, Rabbi Storch, value in looking up to someone like that? Pitfalls in looking up to a sports player?
That's a great question. I think the reverence that we have for our Gedolim, I would use the term reverence, kavod, yira. That is something we have to reserve for our Rabbanim, for our Rebbes, for our role models in Yira Shemayim, etc. But
I think a good segue
in terms of aspects, I think there's what to learn, and you could take from what Tom Brady has done and use it. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rabbi.
Right. No. So I think that's a perfect segue. Yeah, you're famous a little bit on the internet in the Jewish circles and Jewish Twitter as of recent for breaking a story that garnered a lot of from WhatsApp world attention, and obviously for those who don't know, that's the story of. There was a big fancy trade that happened with the basketball team. I don't do my homework on this stuff, and Amari Stoudemire should have known about it and did not know about it because he was apparently he shuts his phone off when he learns before mincha, and someone told him after mincha about what happened, and he didn't know. And Rabbi tweeted about it, so maybe you could walk us through that story.
Oh,
and
that was a great
kind of
story.
the
You know,
follow-up.
I'm sitting in my. It was just a regular day of school, which wasn't the regular day of school because of the pandemic. So we were sitting in our homes and zooming in. So I have a lot of Talmidim who know I have strange interests. So Ari Mirzoff is in Florida, and he got this voice note. Rabbi Farber, you could tell who was the voice note from?
I think it was my good friend
Okay,
Danny
so he
Konigsberg.
sends me this voice note that Amari didn't know about the Nets trade for James Harden, who he's the assistant coach for, because he was sitting and learning before mincha, and he turns the phone off. So I hear this.
And this is a big deal.
It's a big deal. It's
this
James
trade.
Harden, top 5, top 10 player in the NBA, trading to the Nets. He's, so it was a remarkable trade, and people are talking about it. But really, to me, the whole story was shut the phone. I'm a big shut the phone guy. When you're doing A, you have to live in the moment. Benji Epstein's book, right? You have to be in that moment. And a little plug for Camp Pass there. And you got to live in the moment. So Amari, who everybody's looking to see what he does on Instazach, everyone's looking to see what he does. He has his phone off. So here we are looking at him, and he's got his phone off. I'm like, what a role model. So I decided, I got to tweet this. I got to mefarsem this. So all I did was take it from a WhatsApp story, which everybody had gotten that voice note within the hour, and I was mefarsem it on Twitter. And I used the Amari Israel name on Twitter and the Brooklyn Nets. I used their Twitter handles. And sure enough, it started getting retweeted. So the next day, I'm sitting in my house, and it's the faculty development day, and I get a WhatsApp from Joe Klein, graduate of our yeshiva from 2013. And he says, Rebbe, you're famous. I don't have Instagram. So I said, what's up? So he says, apparently Amari retweeted me. And he said, true story. So I think it was, and then everybody, of course, throughout the day, I was giving out autographs later, but but to me the whole story is shut your phone and you'll be okay, and people have to live like that, relationships. So when you see a role model like that, Amari is a true role model in every sense of the word. Just last night, I mean, you guys had the tweet out before. What was that he said about?
He was doing some kind of virtual Zoom. For
Yeah. So what did he say about Shaquille guarding Shaquille O'Neal? You have to
Give it your all. You have to do your best. But when you're learning a Daf Gemara, you have to do better.
I mean,
than
that
the
was,
best.
this is Amari Stoudemire. So this is a guy who was a real basketball player, but now he's a real yid. He's a real yid. He's the real deal.
So certainly can learn lessons.
Oh, from him is another
him.
level. That you could have Euro for,
Right.
because that's in the element of it's not just the mushal. See, Tom Brady is giving us the mushal. Amari's giving us the nimshal. He's telling us he's living a life that there are parts of it which we should incorporate. Listen, what Tom Brady's doing is great, but it's a mushal. It's a mushal for hard work. It's a mushal for all those things that we could internalize and use for our lives. But we have to then come up with the nimshal.
Okay, let's segue into a sports-related topic, but a different type of a topic. And this is, I know, something that we speak about a lot. Greatest sports movie of all time?
All time.
Greatest sports movie of all time. So that's a good question. The number one movie that comes to the top of my head is Miracle. I'm not sure if why is that coming to my head right now. I don't know. Mighty Ducks are cute. They keep kids busy on the bus. But what Miracle? I'm going to go with Miracle because again, it's always about the nimshal. Reb David Miller, first day in YU, he was my Rebbe in BMT for many, many years, and then he comes to YU and people talk about the revolution that happened with Rabbi Weinberger, but Rabbi Miller was really the pre-revolution to Rabbi Weinberger, where he just took off 2 years from Gross and sat in YU, and he gave Musser Schmoozin. And the first Musar shmooze he ever gave, and it's this I use to all the ninth graders. I use it for the ninth grade Shabbaton every year, where he went through that scene where they kept identifying themselves as the college. I'm Micah Ruzioni. I went to University of Massachusetts. Rob McClanahan, University of Michigan. Blah 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 blah. Bill Baker, University of Boston. I don't know what BU. And then finally, when Herb Brooks was getting to the end, and he kept making again, and as I said in my story, Nachemel, the chap at the end was such a brilliant chap, where Micah Ruzioni finally said, "And I play for Team United States," which was the turning. And of course, the music goes on, and they go on to never lose a game again, right? Only in Disney movies, but that actually was a real story. The chap there was that they finally understood it's not about the individual, but it's about the team, collective team coming together. And again,
Appropriate message for this week's
yeah,
parsha.
the Archaim HaKadosh speaks about Vayichan Sham Keneged Ahar. I think that some of these Jewish musicians made it into a song, made it popular. But Vayichan Sham, the idea of the group coming together as one, not just something with common ideals, but more profound than that, as an organism, which is just one organism. My left leg and your right leg are really one. They're coming together as one, as an organism. And I think that when I saw that in Miracle, like on some bus ride to some, I don't know, wherever we were going, that really moved me. And I remember the real story from 1980. I was still alive then. So you put those two together, and I was very moved by that movie.
We've done here in school on Yom Ha'atzmaut Israel across the curriculum, where various teachers are teaching different aspects of Israel through the lens of their subjects. So I was thinking, if we would do a sports day, I'd love to explore the physics of the knuckle and whether that's something that can actually work.
I wonder. A knuckle puck. Maybe we'd get some guests to come in and Dr. Waldbaum? Maybe we could do that in New STEM Labs.
Or Mel David.
The knuckle puck. I don't know why I never thought of that before. There is a knuckle ball that you could throw.
There's a knuckle ball. But
I don't think it's. I don't know if it's real.
Well, Kenan Thompson.
He did.
Pulled
So
it
maybe
off
you never know.
in 2 movies. So,
Rabbi, the big game is coming up, whatever that big game might be. And there are some people who are big sports fans and love watching the game. Some people get themselves excited for the game, maybe by adding external elements, maybe gambling, maybe boxes, things type of things. And there's also a third category. So before we address maybe gambling and things of that, of the Super Bowl, there's a third category of people who go to the Super Bowl party. And if I don't know this, I never spoke with Rabbi Farber about it, but I would imagine when Rabbi Farber was in high school that he would have fit in this category. The people who come to watch the commercials.
right.
It's a big day in the world of advertising and commercials because it's a very expensive commercial slot, and each commercial, every second there is thousands upon thousands of dollars to just buy that airtime. And there are certain people who come to watch commercials. They're coming together with friends to eat wings and Giant Hero sandwiches and watch commercials for whatever it is, Budweiser, Geico, whatever the big brands are, Coca-Cola out there. As a sports fan, if you're sitting there and there's a guy who's coming and he's the exact opposite of you, he couldn't care less what's on the screen, and when you're going to quickly grab a snack, he's running and elbowing his way to the couch to watch it. What do you have to say about that, about the commercial watcher?
What's the problem?
So it's interesting. You're asking me this question. I stopped watching the game about 4 or 5 years ago. I watched the second half, so I went to pay a shiva call a number of years ago during the Super Bowl. It was in Teaneck. I figured there'd be no traffic. I can go in there. I show up, and the guy looks at me and goes, "I thought only the geeks and women would come now." so, but I'm trying to think back to what it was in the past. How do I feel? I kind of find it humorous. It's like another angle. People try to gamify the commercials. It just becomes another. You almost look at these people like it's like the guys who like science when you're in high school. Like they're there, and maybe you can find some common ground to schmooze with them. But it's like almost funny.
There's something telling about two people coming to say, "Oh, I love this day. This is going to be a great 3 hours," and they're sitting and they're looking for entirely different things.
Well, the problem today is that you can watch the commercials already
before
the day. Yes,
if you
release
YouTube
them.
Big Game, you'll probably see all of them.
They
Big
released
Game,
them
Geico,
before,
Cola.
and I just read fascinating. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Budweiser, no commercials this year. No, because of the pandemic, taking a step back, I don't know, diverting their funds to other avenues, other needs.
That's interesting.
Unbelievable. It is
Yeah.
interesting. So you'll be left with avocados.com.
I don't even know. The truth is that I try also when I watch with my kids, if they wanted to, I would always shut the commercials. There is an element
Right,
of
'cause you don't know what's
preachers
gonna come
that
up.
is
There's-
is
Sure,
very
for sure.
dangerous.
You
What?
think it works? When you watch a Ford commercial,
Do I think it works? It's all about
You
name
want-
recognition. I think the Budweiser
wanna go out
commercial
and buy-
from the
you wanna go-
1980s definitely helped the beer sales. Yeah,
Ah.
it's about name recognition. They get it. You know, it's never one commercial that's going to make you go out and buy it. I'm going to date you now and me. 1982 Super Bowl. The A-Team made its debut afterwards with Mr. T. I pity the fool. Like everybody wanted to see the A-Team.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the A-Team's greatest moment. So I do think it works. I do think there's name recognition, but I'm very leery and skeptical of that stuff. So I go up there with 2 feet up. So, you know, I can see why. I think the women also that's a big draw. And it's interesting. I think that the commercials they cater to the women because the men are that's when the men are taking the break and the women are going. The women and Rabbi Farber.
Right. And who won that? Was that the Bengals or
Very
the
good.
49ers who won that?
26-21,
82
I
Super
believe.
Bowl?
Yeah.
I'm going through.
Joe
my
Montana's your
Your
MVP in that game.
Rolodex.
Finishing off here. Thoughts on the game? Winner, Brady, Mahomes.
I think it's interesting because I grew up in New York, so I like all New York teams, and therefore I hated the Patriots and hate whatever Brady and Belichick did all those years. And it's a sports hate. It's not a real hate. And then you switch Brady. There's something to be said about watching greatness. And when you watch Brady, you're just watching something you're never going to see again. Whenever I take my kids to a Yankee game and Mariano would get on there and pitch the 9th inning, I would tell them, you're watching the greatest of all time. There's something to be said about that. So you watch Brady, and he's 43. He's doing something that's unprecedented, and there's something unique about that. But part of me just can't root for him. So I don't even. Truth is, I'm probably not going to watch the game.
But he's not a Patriot
He's not.
anymore.
But there's a linger. There's an expression. You root for the laundry, you root for
can't
you root
separate
for the
the two.
player. So I don't know. I'm having trouble getting rid of that stink. But if he wins the 7th, it really what it also does is it takes the Belichick and lowers him a notch because then they say, oh, maybe he really was the quarterback.
Right, there's a classic Belichick
Yeah.
versus Brady machlokes of who is the real secret
Right.
of success, and does
And
Brady
the fact
winning
that Brady
mean
could without Belichick is a big hiddish. So that's the story.
Well, you were a coach.
I did. I
at one
coached.
point.
I
think-
coached the JV.
Did you
I
coach
coached.
the first
I coached the
JV?
JV. I coached the JV in 1998-99. I wanted to incorporate sports and Torah together in a real way, and then I realized coach and a Rebbe have different things they have to draw out of a boy. Where a Rebbe's trying to show him that he can accomplish something, and a coach sometimes has to say, "Dude, slow down." You shouldn't be taking that shot. That's the one that you have. So you have to. It was different skill sets, and I didn't feel I could do both.
This was
Yeah, it was
basketball.
JV went 5-5. Richie's son Ellie Hagler was on the squad amongst others.
As a coach like Bill Belichick, is he watching this game with pride? Is that his Talmud? Is a coach to an old protege a Talmud? Is that my Talmud succeeding even not with my yeshiva?
I think Belichick, if Brady wins, it hurts his legacy. So that's a great question. I wonder how. Brady said all the right things this week. I read. You don't have to follow Twitter to even know what's going on. Brady said, "Oh, Belichick gave me everything." Blah, blah, blah. He said all the right things, but Belichick hasn't said anything. I wonder if Belichick is saying,
Meaning there's two sides.
"Yeah, I love Brady, but if Brady wins, it hurts his legacy."
Meaning, is it good to bring that back to the world of Torah? Is a Rebbe who has a
Yeah.
Talmud, and that Talmud's not in this yeshiva anymore, but that Rebbe gave him the tools.
That's
and
all
then
nachas.
for whatever reason, has
That's
to
all
switch.
nachas.
And that's all
Anytime, because
nachas.
we're all part of the same team.
It's all the same. It's the same. It is
We're all
the
the same team. We're on the Jewish team.
But
How
that's
could
the
you not?
same
Anytime any Talmud,
So the question is making Tom Brady into the best quarterback ever? Is that the goal in
wonder.
and of itself?
it's a good shiloh.
It's good. Yeah.
All right.
Rabbi Storch, thank you so much.
Thank you for
This was a
coming.
delight. You were our first guest. There's no one else that we would have as our first guest, and we look forward to many more DRS Wildcast editions
Wildcast.
coming to you soon in the coming weeks.
Thank you,
Sei gesund,
everyone.
stark.